Throughout high school, 5 years of college, and later in life, during all of my blood pressure checks taken at doctor's appointments and home measurements, my blood pressure was not exactly normal. My systolic blood pressure was usually between 150 and 160 millimeters of mercury, and my diastolic blood pressure was slightly elevated at between 85 and 90 millimeters. For a long time I considered this to be a genetic factor, but today I know beyond any doubt that genetic background, apart from obvious genetic defects such as Down syndrome or hemophilia, has a very small effect on our body and health, and that all internal and external environmental factors play a decisive role. It is their frequency, intensity, and combinations in which they occur that shape the expression of genetic information and other parameters of our body's functioning. A few days ago, my blood pressure looked like this picture. I did not reduce this pressure overnight. What really helped me was the lifestyle changes that I systematically made. So today I'm going to share with you which tools I use that I think have helped me the most to normalize my blood pressure. Maybe this will inspire some of you to implement them in your life. Fasting is one of the oldest spiritual and healing practices used in different cultures, from ancient Greece and Rome, Christianity, Islam, and Far East religions. It is also completely free. The only thing you need is discipline and willpower. I've been doing fasts of varying lengths for a couple of years now. Once a week I do 24 hours without food, and once a month 48 to 72 hours. How does fasting lower blood pressure? It does so by lowering insulin levels to baseline. Insulin, a hormone secreted by the pancreas, is not just a hormone that lowers blood sugar and helps store it in the muscles or liver. Its excessive levels, defined as hyperinsulinemia, raise blood pressure and in several ways. First, it reduces sodium excretion by the kidneys, leading to salt and water retention in the body. So often you are warned about the harmful effects of salt, but it is not the consumed salt that is problematic. The problem is the salt your body is not excreting as much as it should. It is the excess of carbohydrates in the diet that raises insulin levels very strongly and that contributes to sodium retention in the body, not salt alone. Secondly, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, which results in vasoconstriction and increased blood pressure. Third, it affects the transport of electrolytes across the cell membrane, the same membrane through which glucose is transported. The transport of electrolytes is always followed by the transport of water. This disturbance of the water-mineral balance by the excess of insulin has a negative effect on the blood pressure. Another way fasting affects blood pressure is by modulating the gut microbiome. How can microbes affect blood pressure? The optimal balance of numbers and species, and the more different species the better for us, has a substantial impact on our health. The gut microbiome affects our metabolism. It does this by either processing the various products of our own metabolism or by releasing different metabolites into the lumen of the gastrointestinal tract that end up in the intestinal cells and the bloodstream. This includes bile acids, which are part of the bile salts involved in fat digestion. An increase in the concentration of bile acids in the blood, thanks to the activity of microorganisms in the intestines, has a blood pressure lowering effect. How does fasting help with this? Sufficiently long food shortage is a stress factor for the microbiome and has a strong modulating effect on its composition in a positive direction, provided that after the fast we consume products that support the growth and development of beneficial microorganisms. There are a lot of influencers telling you and even proving that you can eat whatever you want and look good. That at the end of the day it's the calories that count and not the form in which you eat them. Still others say that the best diet is one that you can keep for a lifetime. What they don't know or pretend not to know is that the body body's nutritional needs change over the course of a lifetime. If you thought that this is going to be easy and fun, I will disappoint you. Every food has different macronutrients composition, vitamins, minerals, other active substances, for example phytochemicals, therefore metabolic and hormonal response is different. I will give you some general guidelines on dietary changes that I have introduced myself. I take care of proper hydration, which is not 8 glasses of water a day, but the amount of water adjusted to individual requirements, and key minerals from unrefined natural salt, potassium, calcium, boron, and magnesium. In other words, I drink salted water practically every day. With low sugar intake, healthy kidneys, and daily physical activity, I'm not worried about excess salt. Any excess is eliminated with urine. Additionally, I salt my meals. Generally, it's better to oversalt than undersalt, as long as you use unrefined rock salt. You will meet many experts telling you that there is no difference between a refined and unrefined salt, despite the fact that the difference is small because it is about 1 or 2%. It concerns a really high number of minerals, and it is for this small amount that it is worth consuming salt in the form found in its deposits. I tend to avoid sweets, baked goods, and added sugar whenever and wherever possible. I also try to eat in the most varied way possible, which is why I often have multiple sources of protein in a meal. I use a whole range of spices and herbs. I also eat more vegetables than fruits, full-fat dairy, eggs, and more nuts than seeds. I also eat pickled fermented foods every day. I avoid refined and heat-processed vegetable oils such as canola oil, and instead I use olive oil, avocado, coconut oil, butter and lard. I also use a number of supplements to support my training, recovery and health. The most important ones include fat-soluble vitamins A, D, K2 and E, vitamin C, iodine, creatine, whey protein, L-citrulline, essential amino acids, collagen and glycine. Supplementing these substances helps maintain the function and health of blood vessels, which has an impact on their elasticity and correct blood pressure. Sleep is the most important thing for our health and functioning. It is crucial for the regularity of our biological clock, regeneration, hormonal regulation, health and functioning of the nervous system, and much more. After 8 hours of sleep, you are supposed to have energy for 16 hours of functioning during your waking hours. Therefore, the regularity and quality of my sleep is given the highest priority. On top of that is stress control, because it is very hard to avoid it completely these days. Therefore, it is worth developing the habit of conscious breathing. It is worth doing breathing exercises, practicing meditation in a form that suits you best. It can be training session, a longer walk, or even looking at the stars or horizon. Excess stress contributes to hypertension in a similar way as excess insulin does. It activates the fight or flight mode, which is the sympathetic nervous system. So think about whether at least some of your current concerns are really necessary. My health is not worth going into futile discussions with ignorant people. My videos and articles are not made to please anyone. The information I provide will benefit only those who are ready for it and have a sufficiently open mind. I have my goal, and any amount of hate and criticism that reaches me does not matter. Virtual people who create nothing are invisible and anonymous to me. I say all of this just to encourage all the people whose fear of criticism is holding them back. Expose yourself to criticism and hate when you feel really ready for it. Instead of paralyzing you, it will motivate you to keep going and increase your resistance to stress.